This Monday, February 5th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and available in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and make sure you use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Monday, February the 5th, currently 11:08 on the East Coast. Here to get into our NBA betting picks for the 6-game schedule in the association here tonight. And we'll recap what we saw over the weekend in the NBA as well. But joining me today on this Monday episode, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, WNBA, MLB, NFL, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast, it's Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
They're doing pretty well. Had a good weekend in tennis, so hopefully that continues. As for basketball, I feel like the story of the past week was I keep hitting the locks and losing the dogs. That seems to be the kind of trend I've been on recently. Better than losing both, I guess. But I had the Trailblazers plus I think it was 12.5 on Friday, and they lost by 12. So they got the job done. But overall, can't complain. Looking forward to the games today.
Yeah, last week was pretty good for me as well. Player props and all that good stuff. So hopefully we can carry that into this week for the NBA. I know everybody's going to be counting down for the big game, the Super Bowl on Sunday, but hey, we still have a lot of NBA action as we usually do every single week now. Slowly approaching not only the All-Star weekend, Scott, but also getting ever so close to the trade deadline as well. So the rumors are starting to swirl as well. But I think the biggest story from at least the weekend is the news of Joel Embiid actually having to, or not having to, but opting to go with surgery for the meniscus tear in his knee. He will be sidelined. From what I read, is about maybe 1 to 2 months for the Philadelphia 76ers. And I did see a report last night that Woj tweeted out that the door isn't officially closed, is what he's saying, for Embiid's return this season. But I think that once we know the exact timeline and what the state of the Philadelphia 76ers is at that point, I think then they'll entertain if they want to bring him back this season or not. More importantly, I mean, if they just fall off a cliff here without Joel Embiid going forward, there's probably going to be no reason for them to bring him back. But being in the Eastern Conference, I think you always at least have a chance, to sneak in at least into the play-in tournament. But I think their roster, if they can play 500 basketball without him, I think they'll be okay. But anything to add for the Joel Embiid news?
No, not really. Probably better in the grand scheme of things for him to sit for a while. I assume they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not really worried about them being into the play-in. I don't see that happening. I don't think they're that bad with Maxey being back in the lineup. They should be good enough to hold on. They might finish, as a 5 or a 6, but you get Embiid back, you take your chances. But I feel like we can agree anyway that the entire conversation around Embiid has been focused solely on playoff, I'd say, underachieving. And the fact that he already has an MVP award, it probably is better off in the grand scheme of things to forget about the MVP, focus on trying to win a title, and they'll go from there. Are they good enough to win a title? Probably not. Just being honest. But the point is, I do think when it comes down to it, you had two choices. Either force Embiid back early and risk him for the rest of the playoffs potentially, or kind of punt on some of this regular season, make sure he's healthy, and take your shot in the playoffs. So they're going to go with option B. It's the right choice. Is it going to matter in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. But I think it makes the most sense, and I think you probably agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. Again, you also have to think about the longevity, right, of Joel Embiid, and he's going to be your future, the future of your franchise, and he is the face of your franchise. He's also there like as the face of the league as well. So I mean, you got to make sure, especially with knees, right? It can be very tricky. I mean, we've seen guys that have had potentially, I don't want to say Hall of Fame careers, but guys like, I think the first name that comes to mind is like a guy like Brandon Roy. Obviously, Brandon Roy wasn't at the level of what Joel Embiid is at, but I'm just talking about from an injury perspective, how it can derail your career. and possibly ended early for you. So I think you're right that, this is the correct move. Get the surgery done, have him sit for, 1-2 months, get it right. Because it is about the future. It's about bringing a title to the city of Philadelphia for the Sixers organization as well. So I think like we're both in agreement that it is the right move here. Anything else you noticed over the weekend as far as from games or anything like that you wanted to get off your chest?
Nice job by the Lakers getting the job done against the Knicks. I know
Yeah,
it's a
that was a good
difficult
win.
way. It's a difficult way to evaluate the loss for the Knicks because they're missing so many guys. But I do feel like Thibodeau's stubbornness played a factor in the loss once again, mostly based on the lineups he was rolling out in the fourth quarter. Now, I understand with Randall being out, your offense is going to be worse. It is what it is. You're using Precious Achiuwa, who I think has no offensive talent at all, and you have Jericho Sims off the bench who's playing some minutes, and Anunoby's out. I get all that.
Yeah.
It made no sense to use two big men in the fourth quarter for the entire quarter down the stretch. It made no sense. They couldn't score. They didn't score any points for like 6 minutes. And you have a Chew out there who can't shoot. You have Hardenstein, who I like in general as a player, but he's not exactly known for being a good offensive player. He's kind of just a dunker and a putback rebound guy. But they're just using a Chew out there doing nothing because he can't shoot. So it feels like Thibodeau is still afraid to go small in some spots. And I feel like that's going to be concerning for the Knicks in the playoffs, even with Randall coming back. If they're going to double Brunson all the time, which the Lakers did in the second half, and you're looking at having to rely on some other complementary options to carry the bulk of the scoring, are they good enough? I don't think so. Now, Of course, you're going to be getting Randall back. We know how that goes in the playoffs. I don't think any Knicks fans are happy or thrilled to see Randall in the playoffs, and they're going to assume the worst. But my main takeaway from that one game, which was a very solid game, was that Thibodeau and the Knicks still get a bit stagnant offensively late in games. And I do think when good defenses are going to double Brunson, trap him, and force the ball out of his hands, that seems to be the recipe on how to beat the Knicks. We'll see if that happens in the playoffs or not, but I think we'd agree, even with the current roster, assuming full health, they're probably one piece away. One of the forwards, probably Randall, gets shipped out of town. It is what it is. But I do think the Knicks are a very entertaining team. They're fun, but there are some flaws there. So I'm not picking them to win the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, right? Again, right now, we've talked about this on the pod as well, that especially without like you mentioned, without Julius Randle during the regular season, your second best scorer. This is where coaches earn their money. This is where Tom Thibodeau and those type of coaches have to figure out what rotations work. Because, like you mentioned, if the Lakers were double teaming Jalen Brunson in the second half, you have to figure out how to combat that and how to make your adjustments on who is going to provide that offensive scoring output for your team if they're going to be doubling your best player and your best scorer. So it'll be interesting to see. I didn't watch any of the game. Unfortunately, I did. I was keeping a track of the score because I did like the Lakers in the spot, but I didn't actually get to watch it. I'm assuming you did for sure watch the game.
I ended up watching the entire second half. I saw bits and pieces of the first half. Game was close, and then I ended up watching the entire second half. Anthony Davis was great defensively. Offensively, he didn't really do much. He didn't need to. But defensively, he was punting everything at the rim. And that's kind of the problem I have with the Knicks spacing, because of the fact that I know it might not be an issue because Randall can actually shoot. I just don't understand what the point is of using Achiuwa and Hartenstein at the same time if Anthony Davis is preventing you from going to the rim at all in the first place. You have two non-shooters on the court the entire game, and you're going to get killed offensively because you're basically running 3-on-5. And I just feel like Thibodeau, especially in years past, doesn't have the lineup creativity to manufacture offense out of nothing. And I feel like he's so focused on prioritizing defense and rebounding that if you're against a solid rim protector and you have to try to find other ways of scoring, he will just stick with the lineup that got him there, and he's going to run his head against the wall. And I feel like that's what I've seen from Thibodeau for, I don't know, his entire career at this point. But I know it's a small issue because the Knicks had so many guys injured, and they could have potentially found some alternatives, maybe using Achiuwa on the bench, bringing back Anunoby, for example, in the 4 spot. I get it. But not using McBride at all in that fourth quarter made no sense. Your team couldn't score. You couldn't shoot. You needed more shooters on the court. And it just feels like Thibodeau, we see it time and time again in the playoffs. His offenses get stagnant. He doesn't make enough adjustments. And I'm concerned that's going to be the same issue going to the playoffs, I don't trust his ability to adjust on the fly.
It'll be interesting if the Knicks do make a move here at the trade deadline, whether it is, trading Julius Randle and getting more scoring next to Jalen Brunson, because we know the defense is now there for this team. They've built this roster where you have guys that can rebound the basketball, guys that can play hard-nosed defense. But at the end of the day, you still got to put the ball in the basket. You still got to score points here. So it'll be interesting if the front office actually does make some moves here to adjust or at least help Jalen Brunson in the scoring department, not only for the regular season, but also, like you mentioned, when it matters the most in the NBA playoffs for sure. I think that was pretty much it. Nothing else really caught my eye. Anything else you want to discuss before we get into the games?
Yeah, Beal came back to DC. He had 40 plus points, but nobody cares.
I tweeted this out. That game has so many different narratives that we could talk about, but yeah, go ahead.
So many narratives. The Wizards suck, so I'm not going to read much into it. Good for Beal. He played well. It is what it is. I got to mention the Bucks last night. We got to talk about it. They ended up firing Griffin, probably because Giannis didn't like him, and the team seemed to not fully buy into him. They brought in Doc Rivers. Now, I know that from a player perspective, James Harden, that move looked terrible for the Clippers for about a couple weeks, and now they look unbeatable. So there can still be time for this to be fixed. But Doc Rivers, I believe, is 1-3 now? I think 1-2, 1-3 as the head coach.
I think the only they were on a back-to-back, so they beat Dallas on Saturday night where they went down by like 25.
They were down 25 in that game,
in the first
and then
quarter.
They came back. But I know that fatigue was an issue. You can't get outscored 40-13 in the fourth quarter and expect them to take you seriously. Like that can't happen. It's one thing if you're going to get outscored in a back-to-back late in the game. I get it. 40-13, like I can't take you seriously as an actual title contender. I couldn't do it anyway. Doc, I'm never going to take seriously as a title contender no matter what. But the point is, I wonder, I'm not saying Griffin was a good coach. I can understand why they got rid of him. I don't understand the Doc Rivers move. I'm not sure if I ever will. But the point is, I have to at least mention Milwaukee because losing 40-13 is hilarious in a quarter, especially late in the game when you're viewed as being a potential top seed in the Eastern Conference.
I mean, I watched that game last night in the fourth quarter, and they just it was like 4 minutes left. Utah made they took the lead. And then after that, like the Bucks were just trying to go down, just jack up a whole bunch of 3-pointers to try to get back. And there was a point where Giannis got the rebound. Well, I think it was like 2 minutes and some change left. Just dribbled down the court, pulled up for a 3-pointer. I was like, all right, at this point, the Bucks are pretty much just throwing in the towel here.
It looked like the Game 7 loss that Philly had against Boston, where everything was fine, and the next thing you know, they get outscored like 30-2 in the span of, I don't know, like a couple minutes, and the game's over. It felt like the exact same game script, which is a Doc Rivers issue that we've known from him, is that he tends to fall apart late in games, and it's why his teams always blow 3-2 leads, or 3-1 leads in some cases. But yeah, I had to mention it because Milwaukee's still viewed as being a favorite. I have never taken them seriously the entire season. I think defensively they're not good enough. Dame has a monster game and then responds with an absolute dud. So, it kind of comes to the territory. But the point is, Milwaukee, it's a roster issue. It's not just coaching. They blamed Griffin, used him as a scapegoat, and now they have Doc Rivers on a multiple-year contract. Good luck with that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the hire either. It just didn't make sense because Doc Rivers has not done anything in his career other than winning that title with the Boston Celtics back in 2008, where he had 3, if we can say, future Hall of Famers on that roster. So
4.
I don't know. I know he's a great players coach.
You got Rondo on there. You got 4.
Yeah, Rondo as well, right? So I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. But good luck to the Milwaukee Bucks. For the rest of the season. Hopefully they can figure it out because that Eastern Conference, I think, is more wide open than a lot of people think. But I think they still have time to figure things out there because, again, it was only the fourth game for Doc Rivers, and they were in a back-to-back situation playing in elevation as well. But we'll see if they can definitely figure it out or not. All right, Scott, before we get into the games here for tonight in the association, the 6-game schedule, let me tell everyone about our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. If you're looking for a super offer for Super Bowl 58, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Right now, the Chiefs are catching points right now in this game of 2 points, currently over on DraftKings Sportsbook. I know myself and Scott, we picked the 49ers before the playoffs started to win the Super Bowl this year. I know Terrell is on the Chiefs as well. So we'll see who comes out on top in this game. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code SGP. New customers can bet $5 to get 200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code SGP. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restriction terms and responsible gaming resources. And we're also brought to you by our friends over on Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, and college football as well. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. You can win 100x with some spicy plays. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. Scott and I will put together our Underdog Fantasy entry for the Monday night schedule so you can watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website at underdogfantasy.com. And when you sign up with promo code NBASGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit of up to $100. Again, that's Underdog Fantasy using promo code NBASGPN. All right, Scott, we got 6 games on the schedule here tonight in the association. Let's dive right into it, my man. First game on the schedule, we've got the Sacramento Kings. They are in Cleveland here tonight to take on the Cavaliers. Currently, as it stands, the Cavs are a 4.5-point favorite with a total of 235. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Sacramento Kings. They are pretty much healthy. The Cleveland Cavaliers, questionable tag on Jared Allen for this game, and that is pretty much it. So relatively healthy squads here. We'll keep an eye on Jared Allen in this game. He is officially listed as questionable with the left ankle sprain here. For the Sacramento Kings here, this is, I believe, their 7th road game, consecutive road game, as they're wrapping up a road trip here on the East Coast. Cavs coming off of the win against the San Antonio Spurs on Saturday, and they are now back home, like I mentioned, hosting the Sacramento Kings. Scott, let's start with the side here. 4.5 in favor of the Cavaliers.
Of course, I'd want to have confirmation if Jared Allen's going to play or not, but I am going to lean to Cleveland anyway. I know the Clippers have been the hottest team in the league, them or the Knicks, but the Cavs have still been flying under the radar. They've been really good for the last month, basically, especially the last couple weeks. Sacramento has been up and down like they have been all year long, but the point is I do think looking at the actual line, 4.5 feels a bit short to me, especially being in Cleveland. I'm going to lean to the Cavs here. Of course, I would rather, want to have confirmation if Jared Allen's going to play or not, but I do think this Cavs team is in good form, playing good ball. They're at home. Good enough for me. I'll lean to Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that definitely the news for Jared Allen will be important, obviously, in this handicap, because I think that then Sabonis will definitely be struggling, whether it is Jared Allen guarding him or even Evan Mobley. We did see the return of Evan Mobley for the Cavs as well. He's still going to be on some type of minutes restriction. I think it's around 22 to 24 minutes. So this Cavs team is healthy, right? We also saw Darius Garland return for this team as well. So, and like you mentioned, that because I think it is Cleveland and LeBron lists Cleveland, that they're not talked about a lot, because like you mentioned, they have been playing great basketball and they're one of the better defensive teams, if not at least from a rating perspective, this season. And especially at home, they've been really good as well. So I like the Cavs here as well, -4.5 against the Kings. And again, teams, I mean, this is the 7th and final game of a 7-game road trip for the Sacramento Kings. So I'm sure they want to get back home after being, on the road for this long. And I think They're also in a spot here where this is their 4th game in 6 nights as well for the Sacramento Kings. So they may have some tired legs in this game here as well. So I'm with you on the Cavs here, -4.5. Total at 235 here, Scott. Any thoughts on that?
Well, total's moved up about 3 points or so. So I guess they're expecting Sacramento's defense to take the night off. I'm going to lean to the over on this one. I just see points and the pace will be there. The Cavs have been scoring well recently, and you're looking at the Kings being a good offensive team that doesn't guard anybody either. So I'm going to lean over here. I think the line movement is definitely understandable. So I'm going to lean to the over in the spot.
Yeah, I think I would look at a Cavs team total. I think I, kind of correlated here that I think that maybe we'll see some tired legs from the Kings in the second half. And I think that if this is a close game, or even if Sacramento is within a basket, or maybe even have the lead at the half, I think that then the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second half can probably pull away. But I think the team total here for me makes a lot of sense for the Cleveland Cavaliers in this spot. So yeah, I'll go with it that way. Player props, anything you're looking at least for the Cavs side or even the Kings?
Yeah, I'm looking at Mobley. I know that his minutes have been kind of on their way up since he was injured, and they've been kind of ramping him back up. But he was great against San Antonio over the weekend at a 28-point double-double, I think. But you're looking at any prop of his, and it's extremely low based on his minutes or lack of certainty involving his minutes. But now Jared Allen's questionable, so we'll see what happens when it comes to if Mobley gets added playing time because, one, he just had a monster game in 24 minutes against the Spurs, and B, they might be missing Jared Allen. So I like Mobley props. PRA is at 22.5. I think that's too low. I think he can get a double-double. 15 and 10 gets you there anyway, or maybe even throws in a couple of assists. I think he had 3 against the Spurs, but the total's been bet up. Cavs seem to be playing good basketball. Mobley seems to be healthy. 22.5 PRA feels pretty low to me. I'll go with the over. Assuming he plays even 28 minutes, I still like his chances. So I'll lean to the over in that spot.
Jared Allen and both Evan Mobley were just absolute monsters in that game against the Spurs. I think they combined for 54 points and 26 rebounds. Did those two. So absolute domination for those two guys. But yeah, I like the Evan Mobley look here as well. His minutes seem to be ramping up. He's been around 30 to 30. I mean, he played 36 minutes in each of the games against the Clippers, and then the Milwaukee Bucks played 30 against the Pistons, 21 against the Grizzlies, and then 31 against the San Antonio Spurs. So I do like the here for Evan Mobley. I'm curious to see what Darius Garland's assist number is at, because that was something that I was catching on early during the regular season. Guessing it's probably gonna be 5.5. Let me see if I can find the exact number here. 4.5 at -160. Yeah, pretty much 5.5. I would look at that maybe for Darius Garland. But other than that, I don't think I liked anything else. Did you have anything for the King side that you wanted to look at for player props?
I saw somebody mentioning Sabonis under for his assists because the Cavs are very good at preventing assists. I don't know if I necessarily mind that. I think that Sabonis is going to have a tough matchup anyway, but I do want to find out if Jared Allen's going to play or not. I thought about maybe taking like a Sabonis PA under, because I'm not sure if he's going to score much either. He's not exactly a great jump shooter. Allen's a great rim protector, and so is Mobley. So I think if you want to ignore the rebounding for Sabonis, I can get that. I don't mind PA under for Sabonis, because I do think that offensively, isn't Cleveland going to be a bad matchup for him because he doesn't exactly stretch the floor that much?
Yeah, so last 3 games against the Cavs, I'll quickly read this off. 21 points, 18 points, 23 points, and then 5 rebounds, 18 rebounds, 9 rebounds in those games. So
what about the assist?
Assist he's had, give me a second here. Last 3 games, 6, 6, and 10.
Okay, so I got to see what the PA line is for Sabonis.
So his last game, he had a near triple-double against the Cavs at home, 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists. But that may have been an outlier because, I mean, if you go to his previous games, even if you want to go all the way back to his days with the Pacers, I mean, there's a couple games in there where he was really good. But other than that, he's kind of been subpar. And again, if both, like we mentioned, that if Allen and we know Mobley is in for sure, but if Allen plays as well, I just think that he's going to struggle scoring or even rebounding the basketball here tonight.
Yeah, looking at Sabonis' PA, it's at 26.5, which I think is a little bit high. So I'll lean under there. I don't mind the under for assists, though, as Matthew mentioned, at plus 120. You're not going to get any argument from me.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for this game, Scott?
No, not really.
All right, before we get over to the next game of the schedule here, let me tell everyone about the newest sponsor over on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That's going to be Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and available in 40 states. Peer-to-peer social betting is a new and better way to bet. Bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, and other events with verifiable outcomes. And it's tons of fun, and they have tons of fun social features that give it a feel of a betting social network. Cut even offers lower VIG and fully customizable odds, so you can create your own bets. Cut even handles the payment side of things, so you never have to chase anyone down for money. They have some great social features, like I mentioned, like group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, and much more. Plus, they also have a reward system. Get cash back every single time you bet against your friends or other users. Cut also allows you to list almost any kind of bet. Perfect for getting action on those fun Super Bowl prop bets as well. Cut is the peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and available in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. And we're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time takes the stress away from having to buy tickets to any type of event. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't have to be stressful. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you're going to have. I love using their app. I've used it personally. They have some great flash deals, and last-minute tickets are all usually always available. And it's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And the best part I love is that you actually get images of your seat view before you actually buy the ticket, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive to that specific venue. Their lowest price guarantee. They have event cancellation protection as well. So forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Like I mentioned, you can get flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, but also for concerts, comedy shows, and theater, and much more near you. The Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set to go. And the tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email or wait for them in the mailbox. Nope, they are sent directly to your phone. So all you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Lowest last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Scott, let's get over to the next game on the schedule here tonight. The team we had talked about at the beginning of the episode, the LA Lakers, they are also wrapping up a road trip here in Charlotte here tonight to take on the Hornets. Currently, as it stands, the Lakers are a 11.5-point road favorite here with a total of 227.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Lakers. As usual, the usual suspects are on that injury report with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt are both out for this game here as well. Charlotte has not yet submitted their injury report yet because they do get that extra time because they did play yesterday, I believe, which was against the Pacers. They lost that game on their home court, 115-99. Pacers were I believe, an 11.5, 12-point favorite in that game, but they took care of business. The Hornets have now lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight games. They are 0-7 straight up, 0-7 against the spread. And now you have the Lakers coming in. We're coming off of 2 impressive victories here, Scott. We saw what they did against Boston without LeBron and AD. And we saw what they did, like we talked about, against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. Now they're looking to wrap up this road trip in Charlotte here tonight. What are you thinking about the spread?
I feel like it's a tricky spot because the Lakers, we know, tend to be good against good teams, and they tend to underachieve against bad teams when it comes to covering big spreads. Having said that, I believe it was last week or 2 weeks ago, I said that Charlotte was the worst team in the league. I called them quitters, and I said that they have quit on the entire season. No matter what Steve Clifford says, they've quit on them. It just is what it is. You can read the body language. You can tell that even though LaMelo's still out and the talent is not there, trading away Rozier was symbolic that the team was ready to tank, and I'm going to link to the Lakers. You mentioned the numbers for Charlotte, 0-7 straight up and ATS. They're even worse than that if you actually watch them play. I'm going to link to the Lakers here. They should have no answers for Anthony Davis. LeBron should go whatever he wants, and defensively, This Lakers team, when they buy in, is still a really good unit. The Hornets are a bad basketball team. I think they're actually the worst team in the league. So I'm going to lean to the Lakers minus the 11.5.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to wrap up this road trip on a winning note, right? Because we remember it started in Golden State. I know it's still on the West Coast in California, and then they took those back-to-back losses, which were tough scheduling spots for the Lakers. But they had a couple of days in between where they had a day off in between the game against the Hawks and the Celtics, and then against the Celtics and the Knicks. So another day off now in between the game between the Knicks on Saturday night and now here Monday night against the Charlotte Hornets. But I mean, Scott, you mentioned this team. The Charlotte Hornets team is just absolutely abysmal. And I think that's also putting it lightly. So I think the Lakers probably want to end this on a finish this road trip, at least going, having a winning record on the road here. Because if they do get this victory here today, and if they're more importantly able to cover the spread, they'll end up going 4-2 on the road trip. And not really a much of a look ahead spot because they have 2 days off. They don't play until Thursday. Back at home against the Denver Nuggets. So I don't think that's much of a look at spot because it's still, 3 days away for that game. So I do expect Anthony Davis and LeBron to play in this game because they do have 2 full days off, getting back home, taking care of business where they got to do for their personal things, and then getting ready for that game against the Denver Nuggets on Thursday. So I like the Lakers here minus 11.5. I'm with you there as well. Total. What are you thinking about the total here?
I think I might actually lean to the under because I'm not sure if the Hornets can score in this game.
Yeah.
The Lakers defensively, if they look like they did, I know LeBron and AD sat against the Celtics. Defensively, they were good in that game, and they were really good against the Knicks. You can go through the point totals for Charlotte recently. This team can't score. So I'm going to lean under. I do think that this game will be pretty ugly to watch for a decent portion of it, but I'm going to lean under. I think this total's too high when one of these teams, I'm not sure, is even going to get to 105. So I'm going to lean to the under. Give me the Lakers to win this game like 116, 100, give or take. I'm going to go with the under.
Yeah, I think the Lakers team total over would be the way I would look at for the total. I mean, you mentioned, right, this Hornets team, especially without LaMelo Ball, who's, dealing with an ankle injury, quote unquote, tanking maybe as well. But I mean, they just haven't been able to put up the points, right? They put up 99 against the Pacers last night on Sunday, 106 against the Thunder. They did get 110 against the Bulls, but then 92 against the Knicks, or one of the better defensive teams as well. And you mentioned it, right? The Lakers, when they buy in, they want to play defense. They can, shut anybody down. But I think the Lakers should have a lot of success in this game offensively as well. So I look at a Lakers team total. I think it was at 120 for this game. I could see a world where they put up 125 points and the Hornets maybe scratch 100 in this game, just barely getting under this total. But I think Lakers team total is my favorite play in this game here. Player props here, Scott. What are you looking at, if anything?
It's tricky because I'm not sure how long the starters are going to play. If we think the Lakers absolutely kill them, I'm not sure how many minutes. A part of me thinks LeBron might put up a triple-double, but we'll see what happens tonight. But I'm trying to think of what else I'm really tempted by. Anthony Davis is going to probably have a big offensive game because I don't think anybody on the Hornets can guard him. But once again, minutes might be an issue. So I don't mind 80 blocks if you want to go for a defensive angle there. Maybe you want to take D'Lo. You think he has a decent game. Maybe Reeves keeps it going. I'm not sure who's blowout proof on this team, though. That's kind of the problem I run into. So I don't have many props for this game. But I am tempted by maybe LeBron triple-double in the spot and maybe 80 blocks. But it's mostly just going to be, I think the Lakers win this game comfortably. So I feel like it's a pretty difficult spot guessing how many minutes every starter is going to play in this game.
Yeah, these two teams matched up in LA back on, when was this? December 28th. And the Lakers won in LA 133-112. And that was a game where Anthony Davis had 26 points, 8 rebounds. LeBron had 11 dimes in that game as well. But I mean, I think you're 100% correct when you say that if it turns into another game where they're up by 20 plus points in that fourth quarter, and we know that if you're betting on starter props, that's where in blowouts props go to die. So I like the LeBron angle. Maybe look at his rebounds and assists to go over in this game. But other than that, again, I'll wait for confirmation. I was tempted by 80 rebounds, but again, if it is a blowout, then he's probably going to get hooked, or he's going to fall a couple of rebounds short of getting to that number. But right now it is at 12.5, Scott. Just the last 5 games against this Hornets team, 14 rebounds, 19, 14, 12, and then he had 8 in the matchup earlier in LA. So I'll probably be staying away from props in this game. If anything, maybe a rebounds and assists, like you mentioned, for LeBron in this game. I think I would be tempted by. Anything else for this game?
No, I mentioned Hornets team total under, but that's basically it.
All right. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule here. We got the Dallas Mavericks. They are in the city of brotherly love to take on the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers are currently catching 1.5 points in this game. The Dallas Mavericks are a road favorite here of 1.5. Total sitting at 243 in this game. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams. We'll start here with the road team. So the 2 stars of this Dallas Mavericks team, Luka is officially questionable for this game. He is dealing with an ankle injury, and Kyrie Irving is probable for this game, so do expect him to be out there. He was dealing with that right thumb sprain. Maxi Kleber is questionable for this game. He is dealing with a right small toe dislocation. Derek Lively has been ruled out for this game here as well. For the Philadelphia 76ers, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, obviously we know Joel Embiid is going to be out for this game. Tobias Harris is questionable for this game. He is dealing with an illness. And also DeAnthony Milton will be out for this game here as well. Sixers are coming off of taking that horrific, I don't want to say horrific loss against the Brooklyn Nets, but that was a game where the Sixers were coming off of that road trip, I believe. And also for the Dallas Mavericks, they, like we talked about, they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks on Saturday night on their home floor, but now traveling to Philly here. Scott, let's start with the side here. -1.5 in favor of the Mavericks. What are your thoughts on the side?
I feel like people are going to blindly take Dallas because without Embiid, you're just assuming that Luka and Kyrie and company are going to have too much firepower. I'm going to lean to Philly in this spot. I think it's a good get-right spot. Dallas is a team that I can't trust whether they're winning or losing because they blow every lead that they have, so I can't trust them to actually maintain focus for an entire 4 quarters. That Milwaukee game was embarrassing. They were up 25 immediately. They led by 22 in the first quarter. And then they lost by double digits. There was a 7-point turnaround for Milwaukee. And we saw it a week or 2 ago against Phoenix. The same exact thing happened. This team fell apart with a big lead. So I can't trust this Dallas team. Now, I think Maxi's going to have a big game because I don't think anybody on Dallas can guard anybody. So I think Maxi might carry the offensive load for Philly. But I do think for this matchup with a total this high, I think everyone's going to blindly take Dallas because of the talent disparity. And I think it might be a bit of a trap line. I'm going to lean to Philly. I just think that this team is tougher mentally than this Dallas team. And I think that's good enough for me. The line feels short, a bit too short for a reason. I think it's a bit of an overreaction to one bad game against the Nets. Give me the Sixers at home on the money line.
Yeah, I think that if Luka obviously ends up playing this game, this line, maybe moves to 3.5, maybe more? Do you think he's already a little baked in?
About the Mavericks, or do you think I'm being too harsh? Because it feels like they blow every lead, and every game is close when it shouldn't be.
Oh yeah, I did a VSiN spot on Saturday, and I took the Bucks on the spread. I think at that point it was -4.5, and I looked at the first quarter score. I was like, oh shit! But then I was like, it's Dallas. They're gonna give up points, especially to a Milwaukee Bucks team that can rebound the basketball well. You're dealing with Giannis and Dame and all those guys. Fortunately, I mean, like you mentioned, they ended up winning by double digits in that game. But Dallas has, I mean, they've been the worst defensive team over the last 5 games, and hasn't even been close how bad this defense has been. And I think that, again, I think Maxi is going to have a huge game here tonight. If you want, I mean, obviously that number is probably going to be at 32.5. We'll talk about player props in this game here for a second, but I think you nailed it that everybody's going to look at this line and say, hey, Joel Embiid is done for at least a couple months here.
It's 29.5 on Maxi, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. And then your Dallas team, okay, you're getting Kyrie back, Luka maybe playing this game, and I'm pretty much almost at a pick 'em here. I think I like the Sixers in the spot. I'm with you, man. They've been really good at home. I know that's been a lot of games with Joel Embiid in the lineup, but I think this is a good spot. Like you mentioned, Max is going to get his. You should get contributions from the role players. I think we've talked about this when we talked about the playoffs last year. Is that anytime a superstar player is out, especially being at home, those role players, rise to the occasion and try to, fill in the void that superstar player is leaving. So, and you mentioned, I think we talked about player props last week, and Pat Bev was actually playing pretty good basketball for the Sixers team. So I think the role players will rise in this game. It'll be led by Tyrese Maxey. Hopefully, we do get Tobias Harris in this game, but obviously that only helps with the rebounding and some scoring for Maxey as well. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm going to take the Sixers here at home here, catching the points here. So, yeah, 6 for me total in this game. Your Scott was at, I want to say it was at 242 last night. Up to 243. So some money coming in on the over here. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think that Dallas can guard anybody, and the stats back that up. So I'm going to take the over.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, that Dallas team has not been playing a lick of defense, but also Philly hasn't been either. These are the two worst defensive rated teams over the last 5 games. So I expect to see pace in this game. Dallas is also playing with a lot of pace here as well. They're actually number 8 over the last 5 games as far as pace. Philly has slowed down a little bit without Joel Embiid, shockingly, but I think that, we'll see some up and down in this game. Defense will definitely be questionable, so I'm with you on the over in this game here as well. All right, player props, Scott, what are you looking at?
Well, Maxey, you mentioned the points before. You thought it was going to be a 32.5. I hope he scores 32. That's over 29.5. That's good enough for me. I'll lean to the over on Maxey. I don't think that Dallas can guard him, and I think that he should have a big game if I am picking Philly to win. I think a part of me might be tempted by Paul Reed rebounds, but the problem is he barely played against the Nets. Might have just been a bad matchup for him. Claxton had a great game, and the Nets had Ben Simmons, who played well, but I do have questions about both teams rebounding-wise without Embiid in the lineup for Philly and Dallas in general. So I do think that Reed can have a good game rebounding. I don't mind looking at maybe Tobias Harris rebounds if he does end up playing in the spot. But Oubre, I see it mentioned by Adam. He can't hit a three-pointer to save his life right now. But I like the matchup. Like, that's kind of the problem, is that I think that he's got a good matchup, but I recognize how bad the shooting numbers have been. So I'm kind of on the fence with him. But I think it's mostly picking whichever guy you want that you think he can contribute offensively, because I don't see either team getting any stops in this game. If Luka plays, he might go for 40. Wouldn't shock me. Maybe a Luka triple-double. We'll see what happens. But I see a lot of guys with a lot of stat lines, a lot of good stat lines. So you can kind of pick whoever you want.
Yeah, I think this should be a game where you don't probably want to take unders.
Yep.
So I think, yeah, Maxey has a big game. I know it's at 29.5, but I definitely do see him getting 30 plus points here tonight. You mentioned if Luka does play, he should have a big game. Kyrie should get his as well. You mentioned about like Kelly Kelly Oubre. I think this might be the game where he actually does break out of that slump for the Sixers, and they're going to need it too as well. So yeah, I'm with you on the Maxey. I'm definitely going to bet the Maxey over 29.5. I'm trying to figure out who's going to rebound. Do we look at Paul Reed rebounds in this game here, Scott? Because I like taking centers against the Mavericks.
I mean, I mentioned Paul Reed, but he was really bad against the Nets the last game, but it's a good matchup. So I'm not going to go against it. It might be a good buy low spot. So we'll see what happens, but we know Dallas can't rebound. So
yeah, I was looking at the props and they just got pulled for this Dallas Mavericks game. Let's see if we got some news here quickly for this game. No, nothing I see official here. All right. Yeah, so those are what I'm looking at, Maxey and Paul Reed. So I'm with you on that. Anything else for this game?
No, that's basically it.
All right, before we get over to the final 3 games of the schedule here on Monday night, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets Revolutionary Parlay Optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame bets or craft more intelligent data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here, my man. 3 games left on the schedule here for tonight. The next one on the board, let's go over to the Golden State Warriors. They are headed to play your team, the Brooklyn Nets. Nets currently sitting as a 1.5-point favorite in this game with a total of 237.5. Now it's up to 238.5. Let me quickly adjust this banner here. Some money coming in on the over in this game. Take a look at the injury report, Scott. Let's start here with the Golden State Warriors. For the Warriors, we know Chris Paul, Gary Payton II are out for this game. Andrew Wiggins is doubtful. He is dealing with left ankle soreness, and Dario Saric is also probable for this game. He's dealing with an illness. For the Brooklyn Nets, DFS is going to be out for this game with a left ankle sprain. Day'Ron Sharpe is also out. Ben Simmons is going to be out for this game as well. And Dennis Smith Jr. is probable for this game. So DFS, Day'Ron Sharpe, and Ben Simmons all out. And Dennis Smith Jr. probable for this game against the against the Golden State Warriors. Scott, let's start with the side here. Nets are a 1.5-point home favorite here. Are you going to the game?
I'm not going to the game.
I
am not, unfortunately. I saw Curry play one time in my life. It was about, I don't even know, 8 years ago, and he was terrible. I don't remember which game it was, but I think he had like 14 points. I picked the wrong game to see Curry play. That was during like his MVP run. Like I saw him play like the worst game that he played the entire season when I was there in the Staples Center at the time. But I don't know how I could take the Nets. I mean, Ben Simmons is not playing. How am I supposed to take the Nets? But yeah, it's a low number. The Warriors got 60 from Curry and they still lost against Atlanta. So even when Curry plays great, they don't always win games anyway. I think I'm going to lean Golden State in this spot because I just don't trust the Nets offensively enough. This team has been playing better recently. I will admit that. But I just think that Golden State has a bit too much shooting for the Nets to match. The Nets still take a lot of threes. They're not very good at it, but they take a lot of three-pointers. I just think the spacing for Golden State is going to give the Nets a lot of problems. And I do think that as long as Klay isn't totally atrocious, they should win this game. Big if, because Klay's terrible. But as long as he's not atrocious, they should do fine. I'm going to lean to the Warriors in this spot. The Nets being favorites, I'm not really a fan of at this point in time. It's going to be a close game. I think that this is a pretty interesting spot where I think it's a good buy low spot for Philly, but it's a pretty good sell high spot for the Nets, who played basically a perfect game against Philly. I think that it's a good spot to lean to the Warriors. People are going to immediately assume Golden State is worth automatically fading after one game against Atlanta. They were on a back-to-back for that game, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm not going to fully overreact to it. I don't have a great opinion on this game, but I'm going to lean to the Warriors.
Yeah, I like the Warriors in the spot. They are 12-8 against the spread on the road this season. Just 8-12 straight up as well. But again, we talked a lot about last season how bad this team was on the road and straight up and against the spread as well. It seems like they've fixed a little bit of their road woes from last season, at least till this point. And I think that Steve Kerr has his hand has finally, or he's finally had to force his hand with, or the injuries have forced his hand to play with his younger guys. And I think Jonathan Kuminga has been at that forefront where he's been inserted into the starting lineup for this Golden State Warriors team. And he's been playing some really good basketball. And like you mentioned, right, that 60-point performance. 60 is a really bad number this year in the NBA because Scott, if we go back and see how many players scored 60-plus points this season, between 60 and 69, I think all those teams have lost when that player has scored 60 points. So
the most recent three ended up losing because Booker, you had Towns, and you had Curry. But
yeah. So, but all joking aside, I think that I do like the Warriors here as well. I'm not sure if this is their last game of a road. No, they're amidst of a long road trip here. So, like we mentioned, they started against the Grizzlies back on Friday, and then they went to Atlanta. Now they've had a day off in between games here against. Now they go to Brooklyn. and then they'll go to Philly on Wednesday. But I think there's a good spot here for the Warriors. I do like the Warriors here. I'll take the +1.5, play them on the money line here as well, obviously. Total sitting at 238.5 here, Scott. We're seeing some money coming in on the over. What are your thoughts on the total?
I think I'm going to lean under in this spot. This line just feels too high to me. You can argue that the Nets scored a bunch of points against Philly. Once again, they shot very well. That's not going to happen that often. Golden State has one guy that you basically really like in Curry. Even he can be streaky at times, and Kuminga's been very solid recently. But with Clay playing that many minutes and taking that many shots, I can't take an over. I'm going to lean to the under. I think that this total's too high. Give me a game that lands somewhere in the high 220s, low 230s. 38.5, though, that's a lot. I'll lean to the under in this game.
Yeah, I really didn't have an opinion on the total here. I mean, I know you're the Brooklyn fan. How's their defense been recently?
I mean, their defense has been better, but Simmons playing has helped because he's a good defensive player. But
yeah,
you're looking at Dennis Smith Jr. coming back, who's a good defensive player, so he might be able to make life a bit more difficult for opposing guards than the other alternatives. But the Nets aren't a great defensive team. They're fine. They play relatively slow, and I just think you're going to see a bit of an ugly shooting game. So I'll lean under. But it's the NBA, so taking an under is dangerous no matter what game you're taking.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no opinion for me. I'll lean towards the over with that money coming in, but I don't love it in the spot here. Player props, what are you looking at?
I just want to know how much money Clay's going to get paid in China next year.
So, oh boy. It's
a lot of money.
It's just going to be interesting to see if a trade comes along. I've even talked to some. Yeah, I mean, I've even talked to some Warriors fans. Like, they're done with Clay. Like, they want to ship him out. Yeah,
I've been done with him for 3 years. I've been on this show for 3 years talking about how he's been washed. Like, I was trying to warn everybody, but nobody listened. I mean, Golden State stayed loyal, and then Clay goes out there and what was he again? 4 of 19 over the week. It was something terrible. I don't even.
Is this a contract year for him?
I think so.
Okay.
It might be. He might have one other year after. I don't even know anymore. But yeah, Clay's been cooked for a long time. Remember when Kerr earlier this season said that he had a conversation with Clay, and then Clay had a press conference saying that I've reevaluated like my stance on and then he goes back to being terrible again. That lasted for about a week. Yeah, it's not really a player prop, it's more of a rant, but damn, man, Clay's terrible. He's so bad, man. He's so
The last 2 games combined, 10 of 34 from the floor, 4 of 22 from the 3-point line. And we've seen this movie before, and then there was like a stretch where he had like 5 games where he's shooting the ball like he was old Clay, and then he just kind of fell right back down to earth.
That was all against the Rockets. That doesn't count. No, but
maybe we should trade for him.
He has a couple of games where he's just fine, but even when he has good games, we know what he is. He's going to stand there and take a lot of contested jumpers, and he can't guard anybody.
Yeah.
So you're talking about who might want him. I have no idea, especially if he thinks he's worth X amount of money and he's worth half that. Like, I don't know how many rumors are true based on Clay's asking price and what he thinks, because I don't really believe everything I read on NBA Twitter. I think most of it's nonsense. But the point is, Clay, you can make an argument if he's not one to take a salary cut, he might be out of the league. Like, that's how bad he's been. So we'll see. But yeah, go back to player props. I like Kuminga as a segue because somebody's going to have to score on this team. And Kuminga actually goes to the rim. But Clay, he can do well, but I'll lean unders. The only problem with that is he takes so many shots. So that's why it gets scary because the volume's there. But yeah, I just don't think that he's a good player. And I've gone on record saying that for a couple years. So there you
go. Yeah. I think, okay. I didn't have many. I mean, the only one I look at is Steph Curry. I think that's like the only guy I trust. But I mentioned Jonathan Kuminga for his.
I like his rebounds in this game. The Nets are not a good rebounding team. So
yeah, he's done pretty well over his last 5 games. He's averaging 24.8 points, 5.8 rebounds. There was a stretch where he had 4 of the last 5 games. He scored at least 22 or more points. The last game, only got up 12 shots, but did still finish the game with 16 points. So I don't mind his PR, points and rebounds combined in this game. I'm trying to see what that number is here for Kuminga. Let's see here. 25.5. So I think I can get behind that. Jonathan Kuminga, if you want to pivot away from Steph Curry. But any other player props you like?
No, not really. I think Clay's statue is going to look really nice next to Marbury's. I'll end it on that note.
All right. Oh yeah. So the reason that those Dallas Mavericks props got pulled. So Kyrie officially is playing tonight, and then Luka did participate in shoot around here this morning for the Dallas Mavericks. So
I need him to play. I got the technical fouls. I need him to play.
I saw you tweet that out the other day.
Yeah.
So the line is now up to 2. I think that number was kind of baked in with if Luka was going to play here tonight or not. So it seems like he is trending towards playing against the Sixers here tonight. Anything else for this game, Scott?
No, not really. Once again, I'm not going to be there, but it should be a competitive game. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it or not, but we'll see what happens.
You should go over there and agonize Klay Thompson, how bad he's been. I think that would just that seems pretty fitting for you.
No, I don't know if I need to, because honestly, fading Klay for the last couple of years has done me a solid. And to be fair to the Warriors, I did make a couple thousand on them winning the title. And Klay did have a couple of pretty big shots not in the finals. He was terrible in the finals, but he had a couple of big shots against the Grizzlies. So I give him a pass for that. But after he won me an outright with the Warriors, he became one of the worst players in the entire league. So at least he recognized when he needed to stop trying. So
yeah, see, I can't go and watch Klay because Klay then I will just go out that night and put out a 40 piece if I go try to go out and watch him play against my Rockets.
Only wear your Rockets jersey.
Yeah. All right, Scott. 2 more games here. Let's get over to one of the more, I guess, fun matchups here for tonight. The LA Clippers, one of the hottest teams in the association right now. They are on a back-to-back situation. They are in Atlanta here tonight to take on the Hawks. Currently, the Clippers are a 3-point favorite in this game, with a total of 242 in this game. Looking at the injury report, like I mentioned, the Clippers did play yesterday, so they do get that extra time to submit that injury report. But Paul George did say after the game that he does expect to play in this game. We'll see if Kawhi Leonard plays in this game or not. For the Atlanta Hawks, a lot of questionable tags here, so I'll just read out the questionable guys. Sadiq Bey, DeAndre Hunter, and actually those are the 2 main guys. The rest of the guys are on G League assignments and of sorts. And the one player that is going to be out and missing, I think 7 to 10 days is what I saw. Their starting center, Clint Capella. He's going to be out with a left abductor strain. So no Capella here tonight for the Atlanta Hawks. Scott, let's start with the side here. Clippers -3 in Atlanta tonight against the Hawks. What are you thinking?
I think this game's trickier than people want to make it out to be because the Clippers and the Hawks have been really good recently. The Hawks have beaten some good competition. The Golden State game, they were a bit fortunate, if we're being honest, but they still got the job done there. Ended up having a miraculous cover in overtime. You had the game against drawing a blank on, it was the Suns, and they scored a bunch of points, and Trey was great, and they won that one. The Clippers, though, have been so damn good that I have a hard time going against them. I'm going to link to the Clippers. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I have to at least point out the Hawks have played better recently, but Capella being out is a big deal, especially with the fact that is Zubac officially back or he's close to returning. I don't remember.
Let me see the last.
Because I've heard rumors that Zubac was close. I don't remember if he was actually coming back or not for this game.
He did play Sunday against or he did play yesterday against the Heat. He played 18 minutes in that game.
So I'm assuming he's going to end up playing 20 and change. So the Clippers should dominate on the boards in this game with no Capella. So I'm going to link to the Clippers in the spot. I think the rebounding disparity is going to be pretty apparent in this game. And the Clippers Harden was terrible on Friday against the Pistons. And they won the game anyway because Westbrook was solid. Paul George was good. Kawhi's Kawhi, so they have the best player on the floor anyway. I'm going to link to the Clippers. Capella's a guy that I've given a hard time to this season because I don't think he's that great anymore. But on this team, he's invaluable because they can't rebound the ball when he's not in the game. And Okonkwo is good, but he's undersized. So I think that they're going to struggle on the boards here. I'm going to take the Clippers.
Yeah, I feel like this might be the fishy line of the day.
I thought the fishy line was the Philly game, but
yeah, that too. So the Clippers on back-to-back situations this season, they are 4-3 straight up, 4-3 against the spread, 4-3 towards the over. They've won each of their last two back-to-back games, which was against the Phoenix Suns, 138-111 at home, and then on the road when they went into Boston and got the victory there, 115-96. Yeah, I think I'll lean with the Clippers here as well. Like you mentioned, they're just playing outstanding basketball. Everybody is healthy for this team. It is a bit tricky because I'm not sure if Kawhi will play in this game or not. Um, are you surprised of how healthy this team has been for the Clippers? Because we're traditionally just seeing Paul George and just Kawhi Leonard at this point of the season, either one or two guys just missing extended amount of time.
Well, George has missed a couple games here and there.
Yeah, yeah.
Kawhi's barely missed any games, which is kind of the shock. But I don't know how much of that's based on the 65 game rule. I don't think any of it is. I just think that they decided after years of load management that never worked, they decided to switch it up. And they're just going to see if playing him constantly is going to keep him healthy. We'll see. I am surprised, but I'm happy about it. I like watching Kawhi play basketball, so I'm not going to complain about him staying healthy. There's still about half a regular season left to go and the playoffs, so I'm not going to try to jinx anything. And we'll see if he can stay healthy, but I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I think if you're the few Clippers fans that are out there, not that I know of anyone personally, but it should be a breath of fresh air how good this team has been, especially, we talked about the James Harden trade that we thought wasn't going to work. At least I thought it wasn't going to work out.
It looked really bad early on. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I think we got to give some type of credit to Ty Lue and how they've been able to figure it out. But yeah, back to the game here. I'll lean with the Clippers here as well. Total is sitting at 242. Scott, any thoughts on that?
Over. We give Atlanta playing. They've been winning games by still not guarding anybody. They're just outscoring opponents. And with Capella being out, their rim protection should be abysmal. So I'll go with the over in this game. I'll take points.
All right. Yeah, I'll lean with the over here as well. I think that again, that Atlanta hasn't really been playing a whole lot of defense, and they are one of the more faster paced teams in the association. Actually, over the last 5 games, they're number 1 as far as pace goes. Offensive efficiency, they're number 1 as well, and their defensive rating is the 6th worst over the last 5 games as well. And again, this team, when we talk about them being at home, the Hawks are one of the better teams towards the over. Trying to pull up that trend here in a second. They are 16-9 towards the over in their home games this season, are the Atlanta Hawks. So lean towards the over. And like you mentioned, the Hawks have been playing some great basketball as well. They've won 3 in a row. They've covered 4 straight at home as well. So yeah, I do like seeing points in this game here as well, especially early on in this game between the Hawks and the Clippers. At least the first half over, I do like as well. Player props here. Anything for the Atlanta side here, Scott, or even Clippers? I know we're still waiting on injury news, but any player props?
I mean, I think Trey's gonna have the ball in his hands the entire game, so I still don't mind the assists on Trey blindly because I am expecting the Hawks to score. I just think the Clippers will score more. So I'm going to lean to the over for Trey assists. He's been dominating that number recently. For the Clippers, you can go with a couple of options. I think you're probably just looking at Kawhi if he plays. If not, you're probably going to pivot to Harden or to George. I think Zubac rebounds is worth a look, but I'm worried about the minutes. Yeah. So I think I might pass on him there. I feel like a lot of people are going to like Okonkwo in this game because of the trickle down with Capella being out. I'm so concerned about foul trouble for Okonkwo in this game. Like I'm a bit concerned that with him playing that many minutes and with how often the Clippers are willing to cause switches in isolation, that he's going to end up in foul trouble in this game. I think I'm going to go with Bogdanovic threes in this game.
Okay.
I do like his matchup. They're going to have to once again try to outscore the Clippers. DeJounte's been fine, but I do think that Bogdan's in a good spot here for a big game. So I'll take Bogdan threes.
I think I want to pivot to like Jalen Johnson rebounds in this game instead of Okonkwo. Jalen Johnson has been absolutely fantastic. I don't think he's getting talked about enough for this Atlanta Hawks team. Just the last game, he had a near triple-double against the Golden State Warriors. 21 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. He's had double-digit rebounds in 3 of the last 4 games for the Atlanta Hawks. So I think that, without Capella, like we talked about, that I think that he'll be getting a lot of minutes. He's been playing a lot of minutes as well. He's averaging 39 minutes per game over the last 5 games. He played 43 that game against the Warriors. That game did go to overtime. But again, like you mentioned, Atlanta Hawks have been playing out well. They won 4 straight games. So I do like Jalen Johnson over 9.5 rebounds. If you want to go that the points and rebounds for him, I don't hate that angle as well. But he's been playing really, really good basketball. You mentioned the Trey assists. I think that that's a great look as well. If you want to take points and rebounds, points and assists over for Trey Young, that's a good look here as well. Harden assist as well. I think that he should maybe from like a same game parlay of Trey Young and Harden 11 or 12 plus assists. I think that might be a good look here tonight for this game between the Hawks and the Clippers. Anything else?
No, that's basically it.
All right, last game of the night. We have the Toronto Raptors. They are in New Orleans here tonight to take on the Pelicans. Currently, as it stands, the New Orleans Pelicans are 11.5-point home favorites here with a total of 230 in this game. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the New Orleans Pelicans, Herb Jones is questionable. Larry Nance Jr. is questionable, and Zion is also questionable for this game here as well. Toronto is on a back-to-back situation here. They do get that extra time to submit that injury report. They are coming off of a double overtime loss against the Oklahoma City Thunder yesterday. So they will be traveling after a double overtime game against the Oklahoma City Thunder to New Orleans. 11.5 is a number right now, Scott. Which way are you leaning for this game?
So I know it's a very bad spot based on the double overtime and the fact Toronto's not very good and there's travel involved, but I can't lay 11.5 here with New Orleans. I just can't do it. With Zion being questionable, with the injury news, and with the lack of trust that I have with this team, New Orleans could kill this team. It wouldn't shock me, but I can't do it. I'm going to lean to the points here. I just think 11.5 is too big. I think Toronto can score enough to keep the game close. 11.5 just feels wild to me. I'm going to take the points here.
Yeah, I think that if you want to play the Pelicans here, it probably would be, team total or like the second half, or maybe like the dead legs kind of catch up to the Toronto Raptors in this game after coming out after that double overtime game. And again, I'm not sure if who's going to be playing in this game either for the Toronto Raptors, because we did see Emmanuel Quickly, who was listed as questionable. He got upgraded to probable yesterday. And you just take a look at the amount of minutes that the starters played yesterday for the Toronto Raptors. I'll try to pull that up here, coming off of that double overtime game here. So yesterday they had, let's see, Scotty Barnes, who played 48 minutes. RJ Barrett played 43. Emmanuel Quickly played 43. Gary Trent Jr. played 40. Dennis Schroeder had 36 minutes, and Jakob Hertel played 33 minutes yesterday as well. So heavy minutes logged yesterday by the starters here for this Toronto Raptors team. So I think they could possibly keep it close in the first half, and then maybe at that point where the tired legs do catch up for the Raptors, the Pelicans are able to pull away. But Pelicans have been that team that have been great in the first half. So, I mean, like you mentioned, I can't trust them full game either. I'm going to wait for a live number here. I'm going to see how this game starts, how Toronto comes out of the gate. That if they're able to keep it close in the first half, then I'll probably come back on the Pelicans in the second half, just expecting the Raptors to be tired in this game. Total 230, Scott. Anything there?
I think I'm going to lean to the over in this game, just hoping that Toronto is able to score enough to keep this game close. But I do think that Toronto, if they can hit their outside shots, I think can cause some defensive problems for the Pelicans in this game. The issue that you have with Toronto's defense is the fact that I think New Orleans is just a lot bigger than this team. Now, Zion might not play, so we'll see if that's going to be the case. But I know that the Pelicans had a hard time beating the Spurs. Probably should have lost that game a couple days ago. They should dominate on the boards. I think Toronto can stretch the defense out, though, from the three-point line. So I am going to lean to the over, just hoping that both teams kind of excel in their own areas. But it could go either way. I just think that this total for Toronto, worst-case scenario, is so bad defensively that the Pelicans might score 120. Maybe I'm dead wrong, and New Orleans scores a bunch of points. But I'm going to lean over in this one.
Yeah, I think Pelicans team total, and I think the key, like you mentioned, is that they should have success on the boards here tonight. Even without Zion in this game, if he doesn't play, You still have Valanciunas. You still have Brandon Ingram, who can rebound the basketball as well. You have guys coming off the bench that can rebound as well for this Pelicans team. So they should have success on the boards here tonight, really limit the second chance opportunities for the Toronto Raptors. So I'll lean Pelicans team total over in this game here. Just the Raptors defense just has not been very good at all, especially again, like we mentioned, since a trade for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly on this team here. So Pelicans team total over as far as the total in this game. Player props here, Scott. What are you looking at?
I like Valanciunas' rebounds. I like his double-double in this game. The fact that Zion's questionable and the fact that Larry Nance is questionable means you might actually get more minutes for Valanciunas.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like the spot for him, and I think that he's going to capitalize on it. So I like Valanciunas' double-double. I think it's around minus 125, I think, minus 120.
Okay.
Looking at his matchups against Toronto in the past, he has done well against his former team. He has had a double-double in each of the last couple of meetings. Let me just quickly pull that up. But the point is, I do think that Toronto is not a great rebounding team, and I think you're looking at a spot where Valanciunas can capitalize on some teammates being injured and maybe out, where he might end up getting a little bit of a bump in minutes. So I do like the Valanciunas rebounds over. He played 33 minutes against Houston, for example. In that game, Zion did not play. But to go through the last couple of games for Valanciunas, he had 9 rebounds against the Spurs, 14 against the Rockets, 7 against Boston, only played 20 minutes there. Had 10 against Milwaukee, 9 against Oklahoma City, 12 against Utah, 11 against Phoenix. So I do think he can be in a line for maybe 27 minutes in this game, give or take. And usually his biggest issue with getting double-doubles is playing in the low 20s for minutes. So with the added boost in playing time, I do think you're looking at him having a good game. Give me Valanciunas double-double at minus 120.
He's played in 7 career games against the Toronto Raptors. He's averaging 15.9 points, 14.6 rebounds in those 7 games. He's been in double-digit rebounds in 6 of the 7 games against the Raptors in his career. The only game he did fall 1 rebound short of getting double-digit rebounds. So I think this might be a pretty good ladder opportunity if you want to take the rebounds for Valanciunas. As a ladder opportunity here for tonight. Again, no, with the blowout possibility that he may not play a lot of minutes, like Scott mentioned, but I definitely do think that he can get at least 11 rebounds here tonight against the Toronto Raptors. And who knows, he might just have 9 or 10 by the half, Valanciunas in this game. So yeah, I definitely love that here for Valanciunas here tonight as well. Any other player props?
No, not really. It's tough to really guess what Toronto's going to do. I would lean to Scotty Barnes unders because he's just been really underwhelming ever since Quickly and Barrett got there.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. I don't really have much. They were kind of hoping they're kind of hoping Barnes to take a leap, and he just hasn't done that. So I'm going to lean to his unders.
All right. That was the last game for the Monday card here, Scott. Let's get into our lock and dog, and then we'll put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for tonight. You want to lead us off with your lock and dog?
Sure. So for my lock, I'm actually going to go with 2 player props in this one. My lock is going to be on Mobley, the over 22.5 PRA. I just think you're looking at a spot where Mobley should capitalize on either Jared Allen not playing or the fact that the total's been bet up and Sacramento is not exactly a good defensive team. Mobley had a great game against the Spurs over the weekend. I think he's in line for another good game here, but he can get the rebounds if his minutes go up. The reason why the line is so short is because of the playing time and how he just came back from injury. But his minutes have been going up slowly game by game. So I do think it's a decent buy low spot on a player whose minutes are once again increasing. He had a great game last time out, but Mobley, 22.5 PRA just feels like a bit too low for a number for a good matchup, in my opinion. Give me the over on him. And for the dog, I am going to go with Valanciunas over 11.5 rebounds at plus 135. You mentioned his numbers against Toronto. I mentioned his numbers in general, rebounding, and you might see Zion and Nance Jr. both not playing. Give me a boost in playing time for Valanciunas against his former team, and I do think rebounds, maybe a ladder is worth consideration, but give me the 11.5 rebounds, the over at plus 135 as my dog.
All right. For my lock, I think it's just going to be the over in that Dallas Mavericks and the Philly game. 242.5 right now is the number. Seems like Luka is going to be playing in this game. We did participate in shoot around. We know Kyrie is officially in here tonight as well. But I talked about how bad these two teams have been defensively over the last 5 games. The 2 worst teams, Dallas the worst, Philly's the second worst. I do expect the pace to be up for the Sixers a little bit as well. Like I mentioned, Dallas has been in top 10 in pace over the last 10 games. Over the last 5 games as well at number 8. They've been good offensively. Their number 9 is Dallas. I think Philly should bounce back here tonight as well. I think the role players will rise to the occasion. So I do like the over in this game for Philly and the Mavericks over 242.5. For my dog, couple ways we can go here. I think I like that same game parlay I mentioned for the assist for
Harden and Trey.
Harden and Trey in this game. Let me see what that comes out to here. So let's go assist. Trey Young over 9.5 assists. James Harden. Where is Harden? Over 9.5 assists. So both players to record 10 assists. Each comes out to plus 242.
All right. I like that.
Yeah. Trey Young over 9.5 assists, and then James Harden over 9.5 assists. That gives you the plus 242 here tonight. That's my dog pick. All right, Scott, let's get into our Underdog Fantasy entry here for tonight. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com. Make sure that promo code NBA SGPN. And Scott, it's a little embarrassing that we had a little contest we were running across the network, and we had a big goose egg as far as new customers signing up, or at least fans of the show using our promo code NBA SGPN. So, I'm a little ticked about it. I'll leave it at that. Hopefully, our fans respond to us and they're able to sign up with Underdog Fantasy. And we've been cashing some entries along with Underdog Fantasy. So, for us to be one of the more popular pods on the network and not to get any signups from Underdog Fantasy from our fans, it's not sitting right with me. So hopefully they can help us out before we just absolutely stop doing these Underdog Fantasy entries here. So again, don't have an account with Underdog Fantasy? Make sure you go to there, underdogfantasy.com, and use our promo code NBASGPN. Help us out, help us grow the show, and hopefully we can get on the leaderboard for the contest that we are running on the network here. All right, Scott, where do you want to start here for our entry?
Well, you mentioned Harden assists. Out of curiosity, what's that line at?
Harden assists on Underdog Fantasy is at 9.5.
Sure, we'll take that. If we think the Clippers are going to score potentially 130, then we got to take the assist with somebody. So I'll go with the over. I'll go with the higher on that one.
Okay.
I mentioned Valanciunas rebounds. I don't know if you want to run that back to like 10.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's at 10.5 on Underdog Fantasy, so we'll go higher on that, 10.5. And then let's get one more in here to round out the. You want to go like LeBron, or do you think that turns into a?
I'm worried about the blowout
blowout.
Angle, so that's kind of the concern there. You want Maxey at 29.5?
Oh yeah, that was the other one. Let's go Maxey. Yeah, we'll go 29.5 higher on that. Or do you like 6.5 points in the first quarter for him?
No, we'll just go ahead. We'll just go full
game.
I don't like guessing the points in the quarters.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Fair enough. All right. Pretty simple entry here for tonight. I like this. So we'll go James Harden, higher 9.5 assists. Jonas Valanciunas, higher 10.5 rebounds. And Tyrese Maxey, higher 29.5 points. That $20 entry will get you a return of $120 courtesy over on Underdog Fantasy. Again, make sure you use that promo code NBASGPN. They also have a Super Bowl, projections up as well. So some of the fun ones as well. So go over there on Underdog Fantasy, check them out. I think we may be doing like a crossover episode this week for Underdog Fantasy and some NBA head-to-heads that we also do have on the sports book as well. But again, Underdog Fantasy, go ahead and check them out, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code NBASGPN. You'll get a first deposit bonus of up to $100. All right, Scott, that's going to do it, man, for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. And anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, not really. Didn't expect to be on the show today, but here I am. I'll be back again tomorrow.
Yeah. Again, new week of NBA. So hopefully we found some winners here tonight to put in your pockets. Hopefully we can get this Monday started off on a profitable angle. I think we're like 20 some odd subscribers away from getting to 2,000 on our YouTube channel here. So if you haven't already subscribed to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel, we're actually 17 away from 2,000. So if you guys can do us a favor, just hit that subscribe button for us if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 2,000 as soon as we can. So definitely cannot do it without the love and support of our fans here. So again, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already left us a rating and review for the podcast as well, go ahead and do that if you guys can. Either it's on Spotify or whether it's on Apple Podcasts, wherever you do get your audio version of the podcast. All right, we'll be back tomorrow for the NBA Gaming Podcast. Same time, same place. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.